Hello and welcome to Martinis Eco and Country Bites. I'm Martine, and today we finally have that wonderful interview coming from those incredible people fighting so hard against offshore wind in the USA. They had a rally on the weekend that is about welcoming President Trump's decision to stop the offshore wind. And today I'm joined by one of the biggest campaigners that's part of the Fishermen Against Offshore Wind, Ken Uzel. Um, Uzel, my apologies, I already got that wrong. So, Keith, welcome to Australia Edge Radio and my segment. It's so amazing to finally have this conversation. It's been some months in the works.
Yes, it's great to be here. It's definitely it's been tricky to get it to come together, but we finally made it happen. Definitely.
Beautiful. Um, so just a bit of background history. So you started the actual page and campaign, Fishermen Against Offshore Wind, and you were telling me it was back in 2021. Maybe you can give people in Australia some breakdown of where things are at for you. You're a commercial fisherman, and my dear soul brother, Adrian Lippy, who has been in this fight with us for a long time now, pushing back against offshore wind because it directly threatens the fisheries, and not only just biodiversity, but locking them out of areas they have licenses for. So please, if you could share your story and your journey, I think that would be invaluable to so many here in Australia.
Right. Well, I started off as a fisherman. I fished for 16 years, and then all of a sudden, we hear news around the docks that turbines are going to be on our fishing grounds and out in our oceans. Then you hear news of how big they're going to be and how many they're going to be, and it's like, okay, we really should be doing something about this. And around where I was, there wasn't really anybody making any noise about it, so I started protesting. And along with my protesting, I started a group, Fishermen Against Offshore Wind, and that really helped me connect fishermen with activists and start the ball going with. And it really gave everybody a chance to speak on how they really felt about these turbines. And nobody had a say in putting them in our oceans. And we really got into the details and reading the documents on and all of this, and people started fighting it legally. And now we have the President Trump's ear, and he's put out a executive order. Everybody's so happy about it, and it's really a time to celebrate because it's what we wanted. We wanted the ball in our court, and we finally got it. And I think it speaks
And
for the whole country because the vote was in his favor. Everybody wanted offshore wind gone. Nobody wanted to go down this road.
no, there's no, the thing is that across the board, there's no benefit for locals. There's no benefit for local economy. There's no benefit at all for the marine environment whatsoever when it
Right.
comes to particular species as well. You know, that there's so little ecological comprehension of what's going on under the water by a lot of people. So what area, Keith, are you from? So just so people understand, because I know that you are connected to the Protect Our Coast New Jersey community group as well, but you're in Massachusetts.
Right.
What area, if you could give
Fishermen
an
Against
idea of
Offshore
people?
Wind. Fishermen Against Offshore Wind is just a broad scale of the East Coast. So, like any fisherman on the East Coast is joined. We have people from Maine all the way down to Delaware and
Awesome.
Maryland and stuff, and along the way. I'm from New England, so Massachusetts. I live in New Bedford, Massachusetts. I mean, yeah, I live in New Bedford, Massachusetts. It's the fishing capital, pretty much of America, and we have a lot of pride in our ocean, and we have a lot of fight in us to try to do what we can to stop this.
That
Anyway,
warms the cockles of my heart, my friend, because
yeah,
I have in my marine studies that I did coastal zone management and fisheries was a big part of what we delved into, habitat protection, understanding what's going on in the very complex ecosystems here in mostly Western Australia, but we did a lot, and of course we did the Cape Cod. So seeing what fisheries have already gone through in the US and seeing how it has kind of recovered and how you have such a strong industry again, to see that this was going to impact you or it started in your area was pretty soul destroying when I found your group, and I was like, oh my lord,
Yeah.
I see, I've seen a lot of what's going on. I haven't lived it like you guys, but man, huge, huge compassion for that, because people can't comprehend how important it is to have good sources of protein and good practices and sustainability when it comes to fisheries. And you guys are right there with Australia.
Right. Yeah. We're neck and neck, and as fishermen, you want to give back to the ocean. You take so much from it, so you have to like you want to stick up for it and do what you can to help the health of it and look out for the ocean.
Yeah, absolutely.
You
And that's the
fishing?
thing. It's like you become stewards, right? You
Yeah,
become
you're a
stewards of
steward.
the ocean because we need to have balance.
Yeah, to make it sustainable, to keep it developing every year and coming back. You want to look out for what's going to harm it. And offshore wind is major construction. It's pile driving, it's jet plowing, it's boulder relocation, it's dumping tons of rocks, and it's like total reconstruction of the ocean floor. And it's a big deal. To say that that's going to have little to no impact on the existing marine life is just nonsense. It's like, and then that's only, they say that for each project individually, but they don't say on a larger scale what the whole coast, all this major construction, what that's going to do. They're going to say that that has no impact, all of this construction up and down the coast or the waters where you guys are from.
Yeah, same. So we don't have just dominant sandy substrates here. In Western Australia, we have complex reef systems, which are mostly limestone based. There is some granite outcrops, but so they run parallel. So when you cut through them, you actually fragment um, population, and then you're looking at a decrease in not only biodiversity but gene diversity. So maybe you
Right.
can break down for people what you've experienced, because this is the kicker for me. You guys have lived this hell because you have this offshore now. You have had these constructions.
Right. Well,
I'm
as a
trying to
fish,
be calm because I feel very emotional, because what we're trying to prevent, you've had to live that hell. So maybe you could break it down for people, what you saw, what you've observed, what has been happening, and the
grows
impact on the
unstoppably.
marine species.
Yeah, just it grows unstoppably. We've seen it started with, they came to our port and they started storing towers and turbine parts on our ports. And then they started building these things. And as they started building them, we go out fishing, and on the way out, you see a dead whale. And okay, there's one dead whale. That's weird, but and then they're popping up all over the East Coast now, and it's like this isn't just a spur of the moment. These things are dying because the ocean got slowly more acidic and they just started
Yeah.
popping up slowly. No, this is bam, offshore wind happened, bam, a lot of whales just started popping out dead everywhere. And the correlation is extremely strong, and there's no investigations in it because they don't want to investigate it, because they know that once they start opening that
Pandora's box.
Pandora's box, it's going to release a lot of problems for them.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, we other than
Wow,
that,
it's heartbreaking.
we've seen decline in fish stocks, and scallop landings have declined 50% in 3 years in New Bedford.
So your
And
scallop population has declined 50% in 3 years.
yeah,
So pretty much we can say in the next three, they will be kind of extinct or no longer in the area.
well, our fisheries does close areas off so that way we don't overfish, and we're regulated for ring sizes and stuff like that. And I'm speaking that just from the scallop industry. So there's other industries like the squid industry
Yeah.
has also been declining in the last 3 years, and groundfish, and it's definitely affecting the health of our ocean. It's unavoidable. The evidence, the circumstantial evidence is stacking up against them, and President Trump is coming in at the right time where he can catch it all before it's too late, I hope.
Yeah, all I can say is amen for that, because you're right. Once it starts to decline, there become so many other stresses that become involved that one fisheries are stopped,
Oh,
and
right.
the whole, yeah, and so
Um,
we have to avoid that at all costs.
if they say our ocean is declining in health, then why would you implement all this major construction? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I call it a plan put together by psychopaths, funded by people that are even more insane, bigger
Right.
psychopaths, because you to justify destroying pristine habitats, entire species, um, and destroying local economies, as well as the entire health of ecosystems in that marine area, to save the planet, seemed like the biggest oxymoron you could even try and think up.
The biggest evidence that it's a money grab is that they're putting all their money into one thing, like turbines. It has to be offshore turbines. Why not try other energy fields? Why are we putting all our eggs in one basket? This is a money grab. It has to be.
Yeah, absolutely. In Australia, we hand out grants and subsidies. So basically, I would say it's the same here in the US. The subsidies, without that, the industries don't even exist, and without having the grants to get them off the ground,
Right.
they couldn't even start their projects. So to me, it's like me coming into your town and saying, "Look, I'm going to open a pizza chain, but I want you guys to give me all the money so I can set it up. And then when I make all the pizzas, none of you are going to have any. I might give you maybe a couple of slices each year, but we're going to ship them off to somewhere else. But you guys are going to pay for all of that. I hope you're
Yeah.
happy about that."
Yeah.
That's exactly what this is, right? I break
Exactly.
it down into something that's it's comprehensible by people.
Right.
Let's go back to the scallop thing, because I remember seeing a post from a gentleman. He's a scallop fisherman, and he told me when he was out the last couple of days that all the scallops were not moving, so they were paralyzed.
Right. Well, there was
And
a
that was
study.
from, is that from that's for the high voltage underwater cables? Is that what he's feeling like? Or is it the
Um,
noise as well?
the sonar. I mean, the pile driving has been known to affect scallops. It makes them flinch like every time the pile hits. It makes them flinch. So that takes away from their overall energy budget. So that's why you see them lackadaisical and they don't move because they don't have the energy to, which makes them more susceptible to prey and that goes down the food chain. That's not It doesn't just stop at scallops. I mean, they're not the only ones that flinch from it. That's every fish out there is gonna flinch, just like when you tap on the glass.
Absolutely.
It's like,
Yeah.
and I actually did an expedition with a gentleman named Robert Rand, and we tested the acoustic levels of pile driving at Vineyard Wind, and we found that they were way over the readings that they were legally allowed to have, and it was every 2 seconds. It sounded like I think he compared it to artillery cannon going off.
Oh my
So
God.
pretty loud, 241 decibels
241 is what you were measuring underwater or above water?
underwater.
Oh my Lord.
And he made it a point to say that m- uh,
Ah,
sea creatures are different than humans. Like sound bounces off of us. When they're in the water, their body mass is the same as their surroundings. So the water is the same. So
yeah,
it goes right through them and it hits their arteries and it hits all their organs and it does a lot of damage. It
of,
ricochets off
of
the
course,
yeah,
because they are literally adapted to navigate from sound, sonar, and vibration
right,
frequencies underwater, whether that's electromagnetic or electric, with sharks, and the same for cetaceans, that whales and dolphins. So I've seen a lot of dolphin strandings and deaths also, as well as the whales there, Keith.
right.
Um, what has been the impact on the wider community around you? Like, obviously, if if I understand that when people are the front line, like yourself, that you're the first impact, and then the flow on effect about how that impacts people that live in the area. What has been that additional feedback there?
Well, I mean, if you correlate the decline in the fish to offshore wind, then you can say that we've lost fishing jobs. Boats are going out with less men because there's not enough fish to keep all 7 of us busy, as opposed to if it would be 5 people, it would be less product, so you would make more with 5 people. So I've had to take on another boat personally myself. I'm on 3 boats this year instead of just the regular 2 that normally anybody could get by on. And down the line, I mean, that impacts fish buyers, that impacts the packers, the fish houses, the restaurants. That's a food source that we're missing out on.
Well, it's part of an entire economy that makes your town work. And that's
Right.
the thing is that, well, the fact that any government would allow foreign corporations to come in, put infrastructure in our oceans, and have such a massive and long-term, sometimes irreversible impact is criminal, to say the least.
But no,
And to me, they're traitors to their nation, is what I say.
seriously. And that's why it's all foreign companies. I mean, it would be one thing if it was, okay, an American company started up and they wanted to put turbines in American waters. Well, I mean, it's still not good for the health of our ocean, but it's an American company. These are all foreign companies that want to invade our oceans.
Yeah, cashing on the cha-ching. That's all
Yeah.
it's about.
They want to take our currency back to their homelands, and it's like,
Yeah, and that's the question. Do they even pay tax in our nations? No, they don't. I've been told that
nope.
because they're in, when it comes down to how the boundary line is between state and federal waters in Western Australia. I'm not sure and Australia, what it's like in the US, but once it's out state waters into federal, or that becomes beyond our legitimate area where we can tax them. So it's a tax free free threshold here. It's like, sure, our oceans are open to all the Vikings. That's why our campaign is Vikings go home, because like, we're done with you raping and pillaging this. You can go.
Right.
We're not doing this.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
So
Yeah, I mean,
President Trump, he has actually said, his quote was, "Not one windmill." I don't know why he uses the word windmill. It's turbines,
no,
but
he's
there's something about he's a stirrer. Like, he's a
funny.
sense of humor is one thing, but he's like, not one windmill will be constructed under his administration. And in his own words, he has said that actually it was Lee Zedlin, the director of the EPA,
Right.
and they have already given impact and focus through President Trump that he said that 29 whales have died since December 1st, and he has himself said this is where he feels it's absolutely directed and connected to the offshore wind turbines. So President Trump has come out and made that statement.
Right. Well, it makes a lot of sense. He's following the right people. He's shared posts from Bonnie Brady and Megan Lapp.
I saw
Hooray!
that.
Yeah. So great people to be following. They're the ones that know everything about offshore wind and what we're up against.
I know, when I started following Bonnie Brady, I was like, oh, this is the best. This is great stuff here.
Yeah.
Locals, I love hearing the local stories, but when you're seeing like the way that they're put together, that's quite incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. I
The
mean,
other thing I wanted to ask is that so most of this infrastructure got put in under the Biden administration, is that correct?
yes. Although it was approved under Trump's administration when it first came across,
Okay,
but it
so
wasn't like he wasn't the one that was like, let's do 1 million of them. That's Biden.
Right. So at that time, that's where I'm just like, how could this come in with allowing these industries to come in without any kind of, it's called a precautionary principle for a reason, because you don't go and put in like thousands of new infrastructure into an area without doing some assessment and really breaking it down. Do you feel that that I haven't seen anything, and I haven't, maybe today's, oh well, tomorrow for you guys, inauguration. He said day one he's going to veto the offshore wind turbine industry.
Yeah.
He's said day one, this is what he's promising to do. The thing is that no more wind turbines are going to be constructed, but there hasn't been any promise or commitment yet to decommission.
Right. A lot of people, and this has created panic in the group, because he appointed Van Drew, a New Jersey
Yeah.
congressman, and Van Drew had stated that, oh, he's gonna stop New Jersey from Rhode Island to Florida. So everybody's like, oh, what about Massachusetts and Maine and all these other states? I think we need to look at this as, he first said that he's not going to let one be built. So that's progress. That's we're making forward.
Absolutely.
And we need to just take it and go with stride, because he doesn't want any of it. He's disgusted by offshore wind. He's made that clear, and
Yeah.
and I don't think he's going to forget 2 million acres off of Massachusetts and Maine. I don't think so.
I don't think the world's going to let him, let alone you guys. I
Oh,
think, when you have such a large following worldwide and there's a big spotlight on that, it only takes a couple of ripples and a few people to make some noise and start banging on that drum. And all of a sudden it's like, yeah, no, we need to follow up with that commitment. So I can't imagine that won't happen.
and we've been watching the boats, and it's just a panic at the turbine sites. They're just rushing 13 boats on each site, and it's just nonstop all day.
So
Until
13 boats per 13 boats per site, which means that I've been told it's $1 million per day for those vessels.
yeah.
That's $13 million a day that they're expending to try and get this infrastructure in that's getting vetoed. Wow. Okay, so basically the world needs to help maybe put some little pressure on. It's like, please, President Trump, go the next little commitment and make sure you start committing to decommissioning these straight away, because, okay, so let's go back to Jeff Van Drew, because I had been and done some research on him. So he's a New Jersey congressman, and he said that under the Biden administration, the offshore wind proponents or companies have refused to share the facts with Americans about the true impact of their industry. And now it's Congress is going to have to do that. So does that mean there's a Congress inquiry? Is that what's happened already?
I believe so. Yeah, I think he's going to appoint a whole new bureau to investigate what BOEM's been doing, or what they've been approving under the radar, under lock and key. What they've been doing behind
closed doors, plus in a very authoritative way, where they're giving incidental takings or incidental harassment authorities. It's
right.
like, to do that against endangered and critically endangered species with your northern right whales, that blew my mind when I read that they were given permission to have harassment authorities.
And
President
Trump made the point that a lot of oil drilling, they have to go under strict regulations, and it's hard for them to get an oil permit. So for them to just get these lease sales out of nowhere, and they're just throwing them at them pretty much. And it's like, okay, if you can get the funding for it, we'll let you build it.
So where are they getting the funding from? That's the question, Keith, because in Australia, we know that proponents aren't going ahead without grants and subsidies from us, the Australian taxpayers. What about you?
I read articles that say that Ørsted has financial backing from China. If the Trump administration subsidies fall through, that they will get backing from China.
And so this is where I keep telling people, a lot of the oh wow, I've been told by people that work at ports in Australia that a lot of the blades and the stuff that's coming in is from China. And I can see now that, this is where having these conversations, they do link up, because they're saying, oh, they're good quality from Europe and they're this and they're that. And it's like, well, you've got so much blade failure that's happening. They're made in a hurry. And I think they're made from China because there's torsion failure. And so you've got to.
When has 22 turbines up, they have to look at all all the blades and take down the ones that, so that's 66 blades that they have to look at and take down, possibly take down. That's a lot.
Wow. So in the area that you're at, Keith, how many wind turbines have already been installed in your area, immediate area?
So off of Vineyard Wind, that's the 66. And then South Fork is the first one that was built in America, is 12 turbines, is Ørsted's original project, but they split up because of something about the ground wasn't penetrable for some of the project, or anyways, there was a reason why they split up. And now Ørsted just has Revolution Wind around South Fork, but they're building Revolution Wind. They haven't disclosed how many turbines they've built. Ken Adams from our group has been harassing them daily to find out this information, and they just haven't disclosed it.
So Ørsted have got what was that area that you just talked about?
Revolution.
Yeah,
And
Revolution. Yeah, so Revolution and Ørsted have not actually disclosed how many offshore wind turbines they're going to be putting in your oceans.
Right. Well, they don't know how many are in. We don't know how many are in right now. I think there's 66 for the project, but they won't tell us how many are in, how many they have built.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is where, when it comes down to transparency and accountability, this is where we know this industry is rotten to its core.
Yeah, there should be public knowledge.
Absolutely, and there's accountability to not only the area and the people that are there that you should be answering to, but also from a perspective of that should be information that is easy accessible under the laws and the restrictions that each time one is completed, it has to be logged in, right? So it should all be there, that they're completed and where they're at. Like these ticking boxes and accountability, the regulations are so loose, and this is why we're very concerned, is because now, as we've said, that Trump is not going to allow one more being put in US waters. We know where they're looking at next, and that is us here in Australia. And so Western Australia has some of the most isolated communities and coastline in the world, apart from probably Africa. We have areas of coastline that are pretty much inhabitable, but they would think that that's great to go and put them in there, which is why they've chosen isolated and regional communities to go and put these in. There's a green hub, and we talked about that before, because for offshore wind in Australia, most of them are connected to other green, so-called green renewable projects like liquefied green ammonia. Is that the case there for you guys as well, Keith?
Yeah. I would say they picked the best fishing grounds. That's what I would say. I don't know. They went after our resources, and they knew right where to go.
Wow. And I think that's part of the plan, under when you take a step back and you really start to join the dots about where this ideology is coming from. And it's not coming from the people. It's not coming from the nation of the USA. It's not coming from the nation of Australia, and Australians want this. This is all foreign corporations, all foreign interests. This is all foreign legislation, as far as I see it, because it's top down. It's not driven by the people at all. And to use the excuse of climate change hysteria to go and cause such destruction is lunacy at its best. But absolutely, it's a great way to destroy long term what we have now.
Yeah, and they seem to be doing it in like the most pristine areas, because that's
Same
where
as
the wind
Australia.
blows the best. That's where the wind blows the best. And it's probably a coincidence that that's the best fishing grounds or the best beach to go relax on, and now you're gonna ruin the view with turbines. It's just disgusting.
Yeah, it's beyond comprehension for those that love the ocean and have a bit of a comprehension of how, oceans work and the ecosystems, interdynamics of species, especially understanding that there's this very complex ecosystem out there that most people don't see, don't witness. in Western Australia, just to paint a picture. You might have seen it on some of our posts on our page, but the area that they're proposing to put it in is not only the ecotourism capital.
Right.
So this is like people come to this area for the natural environment. So for beaches, we have the most pristine beaches in the world. So the area of Geograph Bay itself is a tourist mecca, not only for Western Australia, but internationally. We now have international tourists coming specifically into this area for how beautiful our beaches, our oceans are. And there's whales, obviously, that not only are birthed here because it's a birth zone, which the federal government has been advised that whales are being birthed in this zone, but they're ignoring that. But also, the reef systems are very complex because we have some of the most southern coral reef systems in the world. So we have temperate coral reef systems, and that's all due to the Lewin Current that comes the whole way down from the equatorial regions. So it's interesting that one of the offshore proponents chose that name, Lewin Offshore, which is, Copenhagen Energy, that wants to hide behind this, oh, we're all good for the environment and we're all good for Western Australia. So this is part of their tactics, I guess, at marketing and making out that these $2 shell companies are legit when all they're doing is riding off the back of something that's got a positive, persona, or it's reflected really well. So the Lewin is something that actually creates this beautiful ecosystem along the WA coastline, and that's the proponents are using that name to go in and destroy it.
You know what another ugly argument is like when they say that these things are going to create a great artificial reef for marine life, and it's like you're destroying reefs to put these things in. And if we wanted artificial reefs, we could make them way better and way more efficient than a turbine, a monopile turbine. It doesn't make sense. It's not good structure for marine life. And there's studies into that will tell you that it affects the whole ecosystem. It's not, because then you're adding in mussels, and then there's things that feed off the mussels, and then the mussels clean out that part too well, and then other fish avoid it, and it's just, it doesn't, the studies aren't there yet. There's nobody's that has done the studies.
Yeah. And the thing is that there's so many assumptions made in that. It's like, in areas you're saying, oh, like all these epipelagic fish, they're loving it. It's like, we don't have epipelagic fish in this area. We are demersal fishing area. So it's like, actually it's reef systems, and you're going to destroy a reef system and tell me that, what is that, creating cement or concrete footings, which creates immense amounts of CO2. So the insanity of all of that, saying, oh, but we can create artificial. It's like, it's already there. It's created by nature. Why are we messing with that? You've nailed it. You've nailed it. This is where the insanity exists, that we think that we can come in and create or fix something after we've completely obliterated it. And we need to learn.
And I've talked with marine biologists about this just to get a curiosity out there and see what they think, what the marine biologist community thinks about offshore wind. And they think, oh, it's going to be better for us in the long run, and we're going to benefit from it. And it's like, do you guys know the impact of major construction? No, you don't. So how are you going to say it's going to be better for us in the long? Nobody knows the impact of major construction.
So the thing is that, okay, so these marine biologists that you've been speaking to, are these funded by the federal government? Do they get funding to be marine biologists?
Some of them have admitted to it. And I don't know their backgrounds. It was just a Facebook group, but
wow,
a couple of them were like, "Oh, we don't want it. It's going to affect the health of our ocean." And I was like, "Great, you guys know what you're talking about." But there was a lot of the people in the community that were like, "Oh, we're pro wind. We know it's going to help the ocean in the long run, and it makes a great reef. It attracts life." And it's like, if only you did the studies. If only I read a couple of studies, and all of them said it's going to make the ocean hotter because of the substations and more acidic. The chemicals coming out of the stations.
Yeah. Let's not even talk about the hundreds of gallons of crude oil and oil that they need in there, that they're saying, oh, let's go against fossil fuels. It's like, how much fossil fuels is used to create them, transport them, put them on location, make them function, and then when that leaks in the ocean, then they'll attack the oil industry. It's like, you people are insane. Like, I've got to the point, it's like, I just got to call it out. It's like, I just, the level of cray has got too much cray for me. I just, and the thing is that we have learned so much in the way that we have destroyed habitat. We know that habitat destruction is what causes issues to do with change in climate and weather patterns. So why are we destroying the habitats in the ocean? Why are we cliff felling areas? Like, we also work with the onshore wind turbine groups as well, and fully support them because it comes under the same umbrella and ideology, which is net zero, which is World Economic Forum. And we need to stop all of this insane ideology because it has nothing to do with the flourishment of a nation, of industries, and the people. This is about an umbrella of saying that we need to reduce carbon because it's causing climate change. Well, what we do know is that habitat destruction is the major cause of decline in our environmental health and our health as a species across the board, full stop. That's well established. So now this is continuing to do that in the marine sector as well as on land. And it's really embarrassing because in Australia, we're one of the only developed nations in the world that is still doing habitat clearing of our pristine forests, the only one. And it's so embarrassing because this is driven by our government. This is Chris Bowen, who is the Minister for Energy here, and the Minister for Environment here, Tanya Plibersek. She is fully behind this. Like, I just, again, it's this ideology. These people have sold us out to foreign corporations, foreign nations, foreign policies that have no benefit for us at all.
Right. And you have to be careful because these people throw money around like it's unbelievable. There's places that have accepted money from offshore wind that you would like, it would blow your mind. I've seen them listed. I've seen Vineyard Wind listed as a benefactor on the Whaling City Museum in New Bedford. The Whaling City Museum. What do they have why do they need to be conflicted with the Whaling City Museum? What does that have to do with? They're just buying support so people don't talk out against them.
I think it's called silence money. Isn't that what it's called? Silence money.
They have a lot of it.
And I guess that when this ideology, and we've signed up to net zero and got the GOA agreement as well. So you know about the GOA agreement. So this is where, you know, this whole insanity of this green renewables, or I call it the green pipe dream, because someone's definitely smoking on a pipe to think that this is good for our future. And so for me, I look and just kind of go, we have to unplug from GOA. We have to plug from WEF. And however we deal with whatever climate change is happening, we deal with that, but we don't do it through habitat destruction. We don't do it through spending hundreds of billions of dollars to foreign corporations that are not going to benefit the people, the land, and our well-being and health in general. Not to even mention intermittent power. That's not going to be base load. That's even going to give us the quality of living we have. Like,
it's not beneficial to anybody. And it's at the cost of our marine life, right? Our marine life is going to be the one that has to deal with all this construction in their home.
So if President Trump comes out and he declares that in the next 12 months there's going to be a total decommissioning of your offshore wind turbines that are already in existence, do you think you guys are going to go on like a week celebration bender?
I'm going to volunteer free time. I'll take a boat out there myself and start dismantling it.
And you know what? If someone pays my airfare, I'm going to come and help you, my friend. I'm pretty good. I've actually worked in vineyards. So the irony of that is that I've worked in vineyards and I'm pretty strong, and I'm going to come and dismantle the vineyard there. That would be great.
Awesome. We could definitely use a lot of work.
Yeah, you know what? I think that you would have a lot of volunteers come from Australia. And it's like, yeah, we can bring some machinery. We can bring the army to that war for sure, because there's a lot of people that would be in that party to come and help decommission, because I just don't know how. I think that it's going to fall back on taxpayers when this all falls down, that the decommissioning will come down to us. They won't make the proponents, because I actually think the proponents industries are failing to the point where they will just become bankrupt. And this is what we're seeing on land. They're seeing bankrupt businesses just walking away, and there's wind turbines still going, and the farmers are crying out, can someone come and help us?
Even Trump said he's visited other countries where they had broken down turbines. They don't even want to take them apart. They build the new ones right on the side of them. It's like,
oh my God,
it's costly to take them down. And in the effort to put them in, it's just nobody even wants to take them out. It's like, why are you even putting them in?
Okay, so this is a big lesson to farmers here in West Australia that think, and Australia-wide, that think they're going to host wind turbines on your land. Did you hear that? Say that again, Keith, so people might have lost that in translation.
I mean, it just takes so much effort to take them out of the ground. Like, people are just building new ones on the side of them instead of taking them out of the ground. It's ridiculous.
Did you hear that? Which means that it's too expensive. It's not just the effort, it's the expense. Because I've been trying to tell farmers what will happen is that when that turbine is no longer functioning and the proponents aren't going to be coming in to do any maintenance because they're probably folded, what's going to happen is that it'll be left up to the farmer, if they're there still, and it cost over $500,000 to $1 million to actually take out the footings and decommission them at a farming level.
Cape Wind, I've seen the decommissioning plans for Cape Wind, which was a failed turbine project in America. It was before all this mass hysteria started with these giant projects. It was just a 16,000 acre project, small, in Nantucket, but it never happened. But they had all the paperwork and everything got approved. And at the last minute, everything fell through and it didn't work out. But the decommissioning plans, they wanted $30 million for this 16,000 acre plot. Vineyard Wind is 10 times that size. And that's one project. And that was 12 years ago. So do the inflation, add another 50 grand, multiply it by 10. It's like, yeah, that's a lot of money. $350 million.
It's insane amounts of money for an industry that would only exist because it's feeding off the back of our hard work. It's directly destroying our own intrinsic industries that belong, that intrinsically belong to these regions, right?
It costs just as much to take them out as it did to put them in. And it's a lot of money. And we're the ones that are going to be paying for it in subsidies.
Yeah. And the thing that makes me really angry is that those that are aware and conscious of what's going on are fighting so hard for those that aren't aware, that don't know this information. Because for me to think that my grandchildren would be having to live and deal with this because we let this go through makes my blood boil. Because I've always been an advocate for the environment, and I'm all for real renewables. I'm all for new renewables that actually have a low ecological footprint, that benefit the people, that don't have such a destructive impact on the environment, where there's a great balance, where, you know, the environment's left to get on and do what it's got to do, but we are able to get along with our lives and live sustainably. And that's the word, sustainability and biodiversity. That left this conversation.
Yeah, if this is affecting you greatly, I would recommend taking a second to think to yourself, am I going to be the one that just lets this go, or am I going to be the one that looks back and I'm happy that I stood up against this? You know, you want to look back and be able to say you did something opposing offshore wind, because it's going to affect you greatly, and it's going to impact our ocean and a lot of people's way of life. The future is for our children, and we want to keep it as pristine as possible.
Any final words from you, Keith? Because so many in Australia have not really awakened to what's going on here.
Yeah, just speak out, because we need you in this fight. This is not over. This is not over.
No. Well, like I said, that is my promise. If someone's going to pay my effort, if I have the money, I'll fly myself, but
Oh yeah,
I will come and I will help you decommission.
yeah.
And I have an army to bring to that. I
I'm
tell
hoping,
you now.
hoping to hear those planes soon.
You know
Yeah,
what? Even if they say I'm not qualified, I'll still like, I'm good on the Barbie. I'm great. I cook the food.
yeah. You can pick the food while we take. There you go.
Oh, thank you, my friend. This has been amazing.
It's a pleasure.
Wow. And I hope that we can do some more conversations about this in the coming weeks to see how this
Yes,
develops.
definitely. I'm down for another interview, and
Thank you
I'll
so much,
get
Keith.
to talk to you too.
Thank you.
All right.
This has been Martinis Eco on Edge Radio. Thank you, Keith. Thank you, and keep fighting the good fight.
Let's
Chat
keep
soon.
work. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.